Sure, we cool. Good afternoon, everyone. It's August 4th, and today our guest for the PNGAS Job Talk is Dr. Mosley, and she is the Dean of Workforce, Community Engagement, and Technical Education at Lehigh Carbon Community College. And today, Dr. Mosley is going to work with us on how you can transition from a military resume to a resume for civilian work. So we're excited to have her today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the invite. First of all, I'd like to say this is an amazing platform to have. I'm prior service Army. I served in the Army for 7 years. I'm also spouse of a veteran, Army veteran. He also served 7 years. And when we ETS, there was no bridge, right? There was very little to help us understand how to market our skills, how to showcase and communicate what we did in the military to civilian life. So this is a really great resource. I would strongly advise you use it and continue to use it. Two reasons. One, it gives you the first marketability to understand what your MOS was, what your training equates to in the civilian world. And the second thing is, it's important to be among like-minded felons, right? Persons that understand where you've come from, what your boots meant, whether you were Air Force, Army, Marines, National Guard, Reserve, all of these different branches, as long as you wore the boots, you understood. Shelley and I were speaking in the beginning, this also transfers to family members of the military, because as we know, when we serve, our entire families serve with us. There's some of the civilian occupations that transfer to this as well. Some of the different, we spoke about HVAC and some of those construction areas where you have to be ready at the drop of a hat, right? And those are some of the occupations that really some people just don't understand. It's difficult to explain to them the nuances of it and the levels of it. So without further ado, we're going to go into a general resume. And this resume, this is John Doe, very traditional resume, written really in a chronological function. When we speak about military resumes, it's always better to have a hybrid resume. A hybrid resume is a collaboration of a functional resume and a chronological resume. What does that equate to? That means that there are things on there that, for example, this resume that I'm going to first show you is a chronological resume, which lists your experience from most recent to least recent. And that's good if your resume and your experience transfers directly over from the military career to your civilian career. For example, my first MOS was a 94 Bravo. It's now a 92 Golf. Those of you that are versed on that, that's a chef. So if I was looking to work in the food industry, I can literally put from sous chef to line cook and things like that and over to executive chef. However, if you are doing a career change or you're using those military skills to enhance or add to the occupation, but it's not directly aligned, I would strongly suggest using a hybrid resume versus a chronological resume. But let's look through this. One of the first things I noticed about this resume, was that there were a lot of characters on it, right? So a lot of fancy schmancy things. The problem with that is when you have a resume with so many characters, you're assuming that when you send it over to the user, to the reader, that they have the same software that you have. And that's a big assumption. This, when it first came over to me, was a bit over. Look at how it changes the information, right? Because I don't have the same software that this person has that sent it to me. So forget all of this information, get rid of it. A, it doesn't really enhance your resume, and B, it confuses things. So that was an extra space, extra margin that really is not even needed. Another thing is, look at all the spacing here. This is extra space. Remember that your resume is really like prime real estate. When you think of it in that regard, then every little bit helps, right? So the landscaping helps, the pruning helps, like all of that. All this extra spacing, unnecessary. Always remember in your heading to put, even if you are not comfortable with your exact address, always put the city and state, because from a potential employer standpoint, they want to make sure that they won't have to pay out of state fees. So make sure at least the city and state are represented. Totally understand if you don't want to put your exact address for a host of reasons, but at least the city and state. Love the fact that this resume, the name on the resume aligns with the name on the person, right? So the name on the email address. Always want to stress having professional email addresses. The cute email addresses, cute mom 16 at, sexy soccer, whatever. Yeah, really good for your friends, not good for professionalism. So make sure you do that. Also, and the last thing I'll add about the top portion of it, if you have a LinkedIn account, and I would strongly suggest you have a LinkedIn account, please list your LinkedIn tag name at the top of your email. Right now, 70% of hires are occurring through LinkedIn. That means if you're not on LinkedIn, you're missing out on 70% of employers that are going on to see who Shelley knows, to see who Dr. Mosley knows, that type of thing. And they're hiring by degrees of separation. They're looking to see what affiliates you have. So if you have personal, political, religious affiliates, I would not suggest that to be a platform for you to stress those opinions. Again, they might not be able to directly say, well, Dr. Mosley, we're hiring you because of your da 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 da, but they're looking and making those assumptions based on who you stand behind. So again, remember that as you choose the different groups and companies. And also look at them for opportunities to have conversation, right? Courageous conversation. So you are granted an interview, you go into the interview and you see that, oh my gosh, I'm meeting with Dr. Mosley. She was prior service Army. That's a great way to bring up. They might not have even needed you to be prior service, but you can bring that up as a part of conversation because you would have seen on their LinkedIn as a company the same things that they see on your LinkedIn as a person, right? As a human being. So look at those as opportunities for conversation as well. Let's go on down to the rest of this. Please, again, notice this is a chronological resume, so that's why there are a lot of sentences. On the next resume I'll show you, which is a hybrid resume, a bullet is exactly that. No, not like we have in the military, not that kind of bullet, but it is an abridged version of the sentence. When you're reading sentences, there are a lot of opportunity there for grammatical errors, for things that are just a little bit too lengthy. We need to make it short and sweet, right? So troubleshoot in depth, okay, okay. Great sentence, great information, but the client's potential employer, that's too much for them to read. The average hiring person spends between 7 to 10 seconds reading a resume.
7 to 10 seconds.
Seconds. I can't even get through this first portion of it here. Again, great information. Save it for the interview. Okay. Same thing here. All of these are not bullets, they're sentences. They need to be bullets. Awards, great awards. Look at the awards that align to where you're looking to go. Your resume, think of your resume in this way. I need to dress for the parts I want, not the parts I've had. Well, what does that mean in English? It means in English that I know what it means to have this commendation certificate, right? Great. All of this right here, great for conversation, not necessary for the resume. And again, see here on this example, so the red on your through Microsoft means that there is a spelling error. The green means that there's a grammatical error. Please don't ignore them. If you see a lot of red and green on your resume, it is not a tribute to Christmas. It means that there are errors on your resume that must be fixed. All righty, same thing here. If you're looking at a position that possibly has like some security positions or military and police positions, they want to know about these awards. They want to know about your past experience in the military because it directly aligns with the potential experience. Great, go ahead and list them. Otherwise, an abridged version of this is fine. So all of this right here can go, only the bold would stay, okay? And in education, your years will tell your age. Be cognizant of the years that you put. You don't have to put all of these years because honestly, so we did, right? The auto maintenance technician school. Did you graduate or not? Great. Marine combat training. Did you graduate or not? Awesome. Again, because once you put this, you are pigeonholing yourself into an age category. You do, you do not want to give a potential employer, and it's not about, 2014, that's not too long ago.
Mhm.
But it also then says, okay, well, if this person did Marine combat training in 2014, that means they must have graduated high school between, I don't know, 19, whatever, I don't know, 2000, between, I don't know, 2000 and 2013 or something like that. That means based on this, they must be between 25 to 26. That's a good range, right? And it might work in your favor for conversation. But now suppose someone wanted to have 15 years of experience, wanted you to have 15 years of experience. You won't even get an entrance inside the door, and you have the experience, you have the know-how, you have the technical training, but you won't even get inside the door because of the age parameter that you've listed. So let me just show you another resume. I'll stop sharing for 2 seconds, and then I'll go to another screen. Oh, it's like the computer knew what screen I was going to go to. I'm like, wait, how did that happen? All right, so this resume here and this one, this hybrid that I'm showing you has military experience. The first thing I'm going to go down and show you here is this portion here, right? Where we put the relatable training. Notice how it's already separated from your civilian training. Let's go up here so now you could see the whole resume. So again, this is the resume. It's a hybrid resume. Let me make it a little bigger. Here's the person's name. This is where the person lives. Again, same thing. You don't have to list your full address, but just do city and state. That's totally fine. Qualifications. Notice it's bullets. It's not sentence form. Why is it bullets? Because I can just go through and read. Strong listening. Well, it's military. Of course, their adherence to policy and procedure and strong listening. Don't be silly. But let's be right?
Right.
So demonstrated leadership skills. These are some of the things, by the way, that through NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, which is actually right here, they're headquartered right here in the Lehigh Valley, but it's all over the states. And a lot of the colleges use these skills, this skills guidance to help guide curriculum. They're looking for problem solving skills. They're looking for adherence to policy and procedure. They used to call it soft skills. Now they call it essential skills. As a prior service person, that's embedded in boot camp. If that was not embedded in boot camp, you need to do it over again, right? Strong listening, verbal and written communication, balanced priorities. Are you kidding? Meeting deadlines. That's how we roll in the military, right? Problem solving. That's a part of your MOS, no matter what it was, military and training. So these qualifications, short, sweet, to the point. The only change I will say in this, if your education does not align to your experience, you don't have to put education first, right? It can
Okay.
go at the end. And I might have another example that I'll show you that on, but let's finish this one. Professional experience. If your professional experience aligns with the job, again, dressing for the parts you want, not the parts you've had. If your professional experience aligns with that, list it next. But maybe, you know what? I might not have that professional experience. Maybe I'm only educated in that career, right? And if that's the case, then you would expand on the education, minimize the professional experience. Let's take another scenario. Maybe I have the professional experience, but I may not have the professional experience, but my military experience is where I have that exposure. No problem. You can flip-flop them. Put military experience first and then professional experience next. And of course, as we saw on the other resume with a lot of different commendation and awards and description, let's put that military training on there. It is not necessary, again, to put all those sentences on what the actual training was. Why? Because half of the civilians are not going to understand it anyway. So if you just put like exactly where you did the training, right? What type of training it was, where it was, and the date that you did the training, that's fine. Again, dates do not need to be included. Let me see if I have another hybrid that's, it's not military, but it has it differently. This is a good one. So let's look at this hybrid resume. We can also use this just as applicably for our military. Qualifications on the top, education here. Now, professional experience with selected accomplishments. The reason we have the selected accomplishments on this one is because the accomplishments align to the opportunity. Again, we can always use that professional experience. If it's military experience, it could easily interchange, right? Here it has listed as professional, but it could be military experience and selected accomplishments. These bullets are a little longer because the selected accomplishments, we're not listing like an awards and acknowledgement portion. We're marrying the two sections. So this part can be a little longer. And on this part, we listed the companies that we had that experience from. That is another option. I personally prefer the companies listed. Hold on one second. In this way, where it has the military training, where it's just the company or place that I trained, the location, and then the date. But that is another option as well, where it's the full company and the training. Again, this is really used if your training aligns with the opportunity that you're doing. For everyone, for every resume, I always recommend that you update your resume every 6 months. There is no way you're going to remember everything that you've done after 3 or 4 years. Always also remember to dress for the parts you want. Look at the job description that you're going to. In my past life in HR, I worked for Federated Logistics and Operations. That's a company that owns Macy's. I manage 160 of their locations. If you sent me a resume, I did not have the time to sit and read every resume for 160 locations, right? So what happens then? When you send in your resume to me or any director or whatever the title is that's looking at that resume, if you don't have those keywords in that search, we're not even seeing your resume. Well, what does that mean in English? Let me give you an example. I'm going back to the military resume here. If I was looking for someone that had, I don't know, strong listening skills, leadership skills, problem solving skills, and you didn't have those words in your resume goes into a cached system. Within that system, it extracts the words and gets me that resume. If those words are not in that resume, it then goes to Plan B. So Plan B is not a place that I'm ever going to see. It's synonymous with trash, junk, or spam. Okay, so you need those words. You need to look at the current job descriptions you're having, job description you're looking at, underline those words and make sure those key words are in your resume, because that's what gets your resume viewed. And the last thing, before I know my time is almost up, the last thing I will add is this. Well, two things. The first is when you're going to an interview, understand that when you're looking for work, finding work is your job. So it does take many hours looking at different industries, because just because the job has, I don't know, accounts payable, accounts receivable, it does not mean that the same title will work at every industry. One industry might call it billing and receiving. Another one might call accounts payable, accounts receivable. One might call it finance and invoicing, right? So look at the different titles. Don't discredit a job because of the title, because that title just may be called something else somewhere else. Look at the full job description. Use your own search parameters to make sure that you're catching as many industries as possible, and looking at the company, not necessarily just the title of the job, to determine whether that's a good fit for you. And the last thing is, when you're interviewing, understand that at any time you can obtain an interview. You might be on your way to an interview, someone cuts you off. When you wave with all your fingers, because you might get upstairs to that interview platform, whether virtually or in person, and realize the person that just cut you off that you You let them have it. That's the person that's now interviewing you. Okay. Interviewing and job hunting takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of networking. Start the networking with LinkedIn and start looking at who you know. If there's a military platform, start there. If there's a non-credit, a non, what is it, non-for-profit organization that you belong to, or a for-profit, or an alumni association, start there. Those are the best ways to find people that share the same type of like-minded, that you can start at least with that network and then start building out.
Oh, this was amazing. You can see I have like a list of notes like this. Yeah. You touched on so many great points, talking about, dressing for the part you want. I think people should not just update the resume every 6 months, but make sure they review it before submitting it for each job to make sure that you don't get lost in the algorithms. And one thing I like to point out that we do with our PNGAS job board, anyone who uses our job board for their job search, once they do an apply redirect, we get notified and we let the recruiters we know personally, we send them a personal email and let them know that you have submitted an application and you're interested in that position to help keep people out of that B trash pile.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, we want to, put back in that personal touch. And just like having you here today, we're looking at all resources that we can share with our community to help them in their job search. The tips you gave were amazing, and understanding the difference between the hybrid and the chronological, and also making sure that you have your resume set for the job that you're looking for if your past experience doesn't necessarily align with your future goals. Amazing, amazing tips, and knowing about the 7 to 10 seconds. Yeah, keep it short and sweet.
Correct.
Get right to the point.
Yes. Again, real estate, right? Like all of that time, everything it's time. And the incentive is, I want you to keep reading. I want you to keep reading. You have spelling errors. I don't want to read it anymore. Like, I want to keep reading. I want to keep reading. I want to support this person coming to, because there's an incentive as well for companies that hire our vets, right? Like vet friendly and all of that, and they get a discount at the end of the year, depending on the percentage of vets, just like depending on the percentage of minorities, all these different incentives that companies can apply for. So it behooves of them to want to bring you on. So if you're bilingual, and I forgot to mention that, put that on your resume. If you're military, you might want to do a different type of resume that says, I don't know, received blank, blank, blank from this military branch or something like that. So if there are things within that you would like to highlight that, again, align to where you're looking to go, put it in there, but just put it in bullet form. No soliloquies. This is not Shakespeare.
Yeah, save that for the interview.
Yes.
And definitely wave with all your fingers.
Please do. Please do. I will lastly say, I interviewed someone at another company once that he didn't realize I'd switched with my receptionist because she was working on something that was time sensitive and had social security numbers and stuff. So I sat outside at the receptionist desk, and that's very important to me, to see how people treat, and very condescending, and, well, how long will she be, and this, that, and, it's like, well, she's, your appointment is not for another 5 minutes, so let's just wait. Well, can you at least get me a cup of coffee? Sure, no problem. And imagine his face when she came out and he realized that I would be the one that he would interview with, that no, I wasn't the receptionist, I was the director. So always remember, right, to treat everyone, it's not about their title, we're all humans. We're all trying to figure this out, do this together, and we're all here for one reason or another. So treat others with the same respect that you would like to be treated with.
Well, this has been awesome, Dr. Mosley. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your wealth of knowledge. And I can't wait to share this with our community so they can take a look and work on updating their resumes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time and continued success.
Thank you.